Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Mukunda Prabhu and Kanchan Mataji, please go ahead. Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Purane Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Asyatarishasarini Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Nityananda Shri
Advaita Gadadhar
Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama,
Rama Rama
Rama Rama
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama
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 Hare
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 Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna,
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama Rama
Rama Rama
Hare
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 Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Hare, Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Hare, Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama
Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hey,
Hare
kontaanga di.
Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Jaya Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mukunda Prabhu and Kanchana Prabhu. Sorry?
Today's Kirtan was for Brajesh Prabhu.
Oh, very nice. Wonderful. So, anyways, we'll pray for him. We'll chant extra rounds also every day. Okay. I don't have any updates. If anyone has any updates on him, then please share. Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji. So today we will have a special reading session because just now Ajit Krishna Prabhu, he texted me that he is not available because of his tight schedule. So what we can do today, this is my recommendation. If anyone has better opinion, please share. So what we can do is there's a biggest festival coming up, Janmashtami, Krishna Janmashtami on Monday and Srila Prabhupada's appearance day on Tuesday. So we can set the mood for Krishna's appearance day, Janmashtami. So we can read from Krishna book, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So each person can read 1 or 2 stanzas. And then we can read about Srila Prabhupada also. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's wonderful.
Yeah, perfectly fine, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
We should
because
glorify Prabhupada, we should glorify Krishna on the
exactly. So everyone, if we read, then it will register in our mind about Krishna, at least for another 3 days, 3 days to go. So I will share Krishna book here in the Zoom session so that everyone can read. Okay.
Yeah, Prabhuji.
It's also there in Veda base, right, Prabhuji?
Yeah, I'm sharing from Veda base.
Okay, okay. Maybe kids can start first. That's okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yeah, Prabhuji, you can see.
First chapter.
How do I put this on the top?
Full screen?
Full screen. Okay.
No, your screen is fine, Prabhuji. For us, we can see clearly.
Yeah, but
Even
I'm
we can see clearly. It's not that small.
Maybe
oh,
at your side, or maybe for the participant, it is showing here and there, but for
okay.
us, it is visible.
Okay, good. So who is there to start with? The kids, preferably. Prajna is there, Brinda is there, Kanchan Mataji, Mukunda Prabhu. And yes, we can start from them and then we'll go accordingly. Who wants to start? Who wants to volunteer?
Understand? Prajna can start, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead, Prajna Mataji.
Prajna, come sit here. Prabhuji, you tell her when she has to stop.
Yeah, she can read 2 or 3 stanzas and then we'll keep it 3 stanzas each person.
Okay, okay, Prabhuji.
Once the world was overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of different kings who were actually demons but were posing themselves as the royal order. At that time, the whole world became perturbed, and the predominating deity of this earth, known as Bhumi, went to see Lord Brahma to tell her the calamities due to the demoniac kings. Bhumi assumed the shape of a cow and presented herself before Lord Brahma with tears in her eyes. She was bereaved and was weeping just to invoke the Lord's compassion. She related the calamitous position of the earth, and after hearing this, Lord Brahma became much aggrieved, and at once he started for the ocean of milk, where Lord Vishnu resides. Lord Brahma was accompanied by all demigods headed by Lord Shiva, and Bhumi also followed. Arriving on the shore of the milk ocean, Lord Brahma began to pacify Lord Vishnu, who had formerly saved the earthly planet by assuming the transcendental form of a boar. In the Vedic mantras, there is a particular type of prayer called the Purusha Sukta. Generally, the demigods offer their obeisances unto Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by chanting the Purusha Sukta. It is understood herein that the predominating deity of every planet can see the Lord of this universe, Brahma. When there is some disturbance on his planet, and Brahma can approach the Supreme Lord Vishnu, not seeing him directly, but by standing on the shore of the ocean of the milk. There is a planet within this universe called Shvetadvipa. And on that planet, there is an ocean of milk. It is understood from various Vedic literatures that just as there is the ocean of salt water on this planet, there are various kinds of oceans on other planets. Somewhere there is an ocean of milk. Somewhere there is an ocean of oil, and somewhere there is an ocean of there are oceans of liquor, and many other types of liquids. The Purusha Sukta is a standard prayer which the demigods recite
To appease.
to appease the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. Because he is lying on the ocean of milk, he is called Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. He is the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through whom all the incarnations within this universe appear. After all the demigods offered the Purusha Sukta prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they had apparently heard no response. Then Lord Brahma personally sat in meditation, and there was a message transmission from Lord Vishnu to Brahma. Brahma then broadcast the message to the demigods. That is the system of receiving Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is received first by Brahma from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium heart. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hrita Adi Kavaye, the transcendental knowledge of the Vedas was transmitted by Lord Vishnu, and he broadcast it to the demigods for their immediate action. The message was this: the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear on the earth very soon with the Supreme Person, powerful potencies. And as long as he remained on the earth planet to execute his first mission of annihilating the demons and establishing the devotees,
Demigods should also
should also remain there to assist him. They should all immediately take birth in the family of the Yadu dynasty, wherein the Lord would also appear in due course of time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna, would personally appear as the son of Vasudeva. Before his appearance, all the demigods, along with their wives, should appear in different pious families in the world, just to assist the Lord in executing his mission. The exact words used here, that priyartham, which means the demigod should appear on the earth in order to please the Lord. In other words, any living entity who lives only to satisfy the Lord is a demigod. The demigods were further informed that Ananta, the plenary portion of Lord Krishna, who is maintaining the universal planets by extending his millions of hoods, would also appear on earth before Lord Krishna's appearance. They were also informed that the external potency of Vishnu Maya, with whom all the conditioned souls are enamored, would also appear by the order of the Supreme Lord, just to execute his purpose. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prajnamacharya. So, Kanchan Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. After instructing and pacifying all the demigods as well as Bhumi with sweet words, Lord Brahma, the father of all Prajapatis or progenitors of the universal population, departed from his own abode, the highest material planet called Brahmaloka. The leader of the Yadu dynasty, King Surasen, was ruling all over the country known as Mathura, wherein lies the city of Mathura, as well as a district known as Surasen, which was named after him. On account of the rule of King Surasen, Mathura became the capital city of all the kings of the Yadus. Mathura was also made the capital of the kings of the Yadu dynasty because the Yadus were a very pious family and knew that Mathura is the place where Lord Krishna lives eternally, just as he also lives in Dwarka. Once upon a time, Vasudev, the son of Surasen, just after marrying Devaki, was going home on his chariot with his newly wedded wife. The father of Devaki, who was known as Devaka, had contributed a sufficient dowry because he was very affectionate toward his daughter. He also contributed hundreds of chariots completely decorated with gold equipments. At that time, Kamsa, the son of Ugrasen, in order to please his sister Devaki, had taken the reins of the horses of Vasudev's chariot and was driving. According to the custom of the Vedic civilization, when a girl is married, the brother takes the sister and brother-in-law to their home. Because the newly married girl may feel too much separation from her father's family, the brother goes with her until she reaches her father-in-law's house. The full dowry contributed by Devaki was as follows: 400 elephants fully decorated for golden garlands, 15,000 decorated horses, and 18,000 chariots. He also arranged for 200 beautiful girls to follow his daughter. The Kshatriya system of marriage, still current in India, dictates that when a Kshatriya is married, a few dozens of bride's young girlfriends, in addition to the bride, goes to the house of the king. The followers of the queen are called maidservants, but actually they act as friends of the queen. This practice is prevalent from the time immemorial. Traceable at least to the time before the advent of Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago. So Vasudeva brought home around another 200 beautiful girls along with his wife Devaki. Shall I read more, Prabhuji?
Mukund Prabhu can try.
Sorry, Prabhuji, Mukund is not here.
Okay, so Brinda will read.
While the bride and bridegroom were passing along on the chariot, there were different kinds of musical instruments playing to indicate the auspicious moment. There were conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums combined together. They were vibrating a nice concert. The procession was passing very pleasingly, and Kamsa was driving the chariot when suddenly there was a miraculous sound vibrated from the sky, which especially announced to Kamsa, Kamsa, you are such a fool. You are driving the chariot of your sister and your brother-in-law, but you do not know that the eighth child of your sister will kill you. Kamsa was the son of Ugrasena of the Boja dynasty. It is said that Kamsa was the most demoniac of all the Boja dynasty kings. Immediately after hearing the prophecy from the sky, he caught hold of Devaki's hair and was just about to kill her with his sword. Vasudeva was astonished at Kamsa's behavior, and in order to pacify the cruel, shameless brother-in-law, he began to speak as follows, with great reason and evidence. He said, "My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the most famous king of the Boja dynasty, and people know that you are the greatest warrior and a valiant king. How is it that you are so infuriated that you are prepared to kill a woman who is your own sister at this auspicious time of her marriage?
Why should you be so much afraid of death? Death is already born along with your birth. From the very day you took your birth, you began to die. Suppose you are 25 years old. That means you have already died 25 years. Every moment, every second, you're dying. Why then should you be so much afraid of death? Final death is inevitable. You may die either today or in 100 years. You cannot avoid death. Why should you be so much afraid? Actually, death means annihilation of the present body. As soon as the present body stops functioning and mixes with the five elements of material nature, the living entity within the body accepts another body according to his present actions and reactions. It is just like when a man walks on the street. He puts forward his foot, and when he is confident that his foot is situated on sound ground, he lifts the other foot. In this way, one after another, the bodies change and the soul transmigrates. See how the plant worms change form from one twig to another so carefully. Similarly, the living entity changes his body as soon as the higher authorities decide on his next body. As long as a living entity is conditioned with this material world, he must take material bodies one after another. His next particular body is offered by the laws of nature according to the actions and reactions of this life.
Thank you, Brenda. Tarun, you want to read?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, the body is actually,
This body.
this body is actually exactly like one of the bodies which we always see in dreams. During our dream of sleep, we create so many bodies according to material mental creation. We have seen God, gold, and we have also seen a mountain. So in a dream, we can see a golden mountain by combining the two ideas. Sometimes in dreams, we see that we have a body which is flying in the sky. And at that time, we completely forgot our present body. Similarly, these bodies are changing. When you have one body, you forget the past body. During a dream, we may make contact with so many new kinds of body, but when we are awake, we forget them all. And actually, these material bodies are the creations of our material mental activities, but at the present moment, we do not recollect our past body.
Thank you. Thank you, Tarun. Anybody else? Tyagu Prabhu, you want to continue?
Yes, Chi.
Yes, Prabhu, from here.
The nature of the mind is flickering. Sometimes it accepts something and immediately rejects the same thing. Accepting and rejecting is the process of the mind in contact with the five objects of the sense gratification: form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. In its speculative way, the mind comes in touch with the objects of sense gratification, and when the living entity desires a particular type of body, he gets it. Therefore, the body is an offering by the laws of material nature. The living entity accepts a body and comes out again into the material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. Unless we have a particular type of body, we cannot enjoy or suffer according to our mental uh, proclivities inherited from the previous life. The particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of the death. The luminous planets like the sun, moon, or stars reflect themselves in different types of reservoirs like water, oil, or ghee. The reflection moves according to the movement of the reservoir. The reflection of the moon is on the water, and the moving water makes the moon also appear to be moving, but actually the moon is not moving. Similarly, by mental concoction, the living entity attains different kinds of bodies, although actually he has no connection with such bodies. But on account of illusion, being enchanted by the influence of Maya, the living entity thinks that he belongs to a particular type of body. That is the way of conditioned life. Suppose a living entity is now in a human form of body. He thinks that he belongs to the human community or a particular country or particular place. He identifies himself in that way and unnecessarily prepares for another body which is not required by him. Such desires and mental concoctions are the cause of different types of bodies. The covering influence of material nature is so strong that the living entity is satisfied in whatever body he gets, and he identifies with that body with great pleasure. Therefore, I beg to request you not to be overwhelmed by the dictation of your mind and body. Vasudeva thus requested Kamsa not to be envious of his newly married sister. One should not be envious of anyone because envy is the cause of fear, both in this world and in the next, when one is before Yamaraja, the Lord of punishment after death. Vasudeva appealed to Kamsa on behalf of Devaki, stating that she was his younger sister. He also appealed at an auspicious moment at the time of marriage. A younger sister or brother is supposed to be protected as one's child. The position is overall so delicate. Vasudeva reasoned that if you kill her, it will go against your high reputation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else? Ram Prabhu? Ram Shyam Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'll read later.
Okay. Vatsala Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. So in this way, Vasudeva tried to pacify Kamsa by good instruction as well as by philosophical discrimination. But Kamsa was not to be pacified because his association was demoniac. Because of his demoniac association, he was a demon. Although born in a very high royal family, the demon never cares for any good instruction. He's just like a determined thief. One can give him moral instruction, but it will not be effective. Similarly, those who are demoniac or atheistic by nature can hardly assimilate any good instruction, however authorized it may be. That is the difference between demigods and demons. Those who can accept good instruction and try to live their lives in that way are called demigods. And those who are unable to take such good instruction are called demons. Failing in his attempt to pacify Kamsa, Vasudeva wondered how he would protect his wife, Devaki. When there is imminent danger, an intelligent person should try to avoid the dangerous position as far as possible. But if in spite of endeavoring by all intelligence, one fails to avoid the dangerous position, there is no fault on his part. One should try his best to execute his duties, but if the attempt fails, he is not at fault. Vasudeva thought of his wife as follows: for the present, let me save the life of Devaki. Then later on, if there are children, I shall see how to save them. He further thought, if in the future I get a child who can kill Hamsa, just as Hamsa is thinking, then both the Devaki and the child will be saved because the law of providence is inconceivable. But now, some way or other, let me save the life of Devaki.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
So, Jana Mataji, you want to continue? So, Jana Mataji.
Sure, Prabhuji. From which paragraph?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, there's no. Prabhuji, are you getting any echo? Echo?
Echo?
Mm-mm.
No, okay.
No.
There is no certainty how a living entity contacts a certain type of body, just as there is no certainty how a blazing fire comes in contact with a certain type of wood in the forest. When there is a forest fire, it is experienced that the blazing it's experienced that the blazing fire sometimes leaps over one tree and catches another by the influence of the wind. Similarly, a living entity may be very careful in the matter of executing his duties, but it is still very difficult for him to know what type of body he is going to get in the next life. Maharaj Bharata was very faithfully executing the duties of self realization, but by chance he developed temporary affection for a deer, and in his next life he had to accept the body of a deer. Vasudeva, after deliberating on how to save his wife, began to speak to Kamsa with great respect, although Kamsa was the most sinful man. Sometimes it happens that a most virtuous person like Vasudeva has to flatter a person like Kamsa, a most vicious person. That is the way of all diplomatic transactions. Although Vasudeva was deeply aggrieved, he smiled outwardly. He addressed the shameless Kamsa in that way because he was so atrocious. Vasudeva said to Kamsa, my dear brother-in-law, please consider that you have no danger from your sister. You are awaiting some danger because you have heard a prophetic voice in the sky, but the danger is to come from the sons of your sister who are not present now. And who knows, there may or may not be sons in the future. Considering all this, you are safe for the present, nor is there a cause of fear from your sister. If there are any sons born of her, I promise that I shall present all of them to you for necessary action. Kamsa knew the value of Vasudeva's word of honor, and he was convinced by his argument. For the time being, he desisted from the heinous killing of his sister. Thus, Vasudeva was pleased and praised the decision of Kamsa. In this way, he returned to his home. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Kirtida, you want to read?
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki gave birth to a child. Thus, she gave birth to 8 male children as well as 1 daughter. When the first son was born, Vasudeva kept his word of honor and immediately brought the child before Kamsa. It is said that Vasudeva was very much elevated and famous for his word of honor, and he wanted to maintain this fame. Although it was very painful for Vasudeva to hand over the newly born child, Kamsa was very glad to receive him. But he became a little compassionate with the behavior of Vasudeva. This event is very exemplary. For a great soul like Vasudeva, there is nothing considered to be painful in the course of discharging one's duty. A learned person like Vasudeva carries out his duties without hesitation. On the other hand, a demon like Kamsa never hesitates in committing any abominable action. It is said, therefore, that a saintly person can tolerate all kinds of miserable conditions of life. A learned man can discharge his duties without awaiting favorable circumstances. A heinous person like Kamsa can act in any sinful way, and a devotee can sacrifice everything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kamsa became satisfied by the action of Vasudeva. He was surprised to see Vasudeva keeping his promise, and being compassionate upon him and pleased, he began to speak as follows. My dear Vasudeva, you need not present this child to me. I'm not in a danger. I'm not in danger from this child. I have heard that the eighth child born of you and Devaki will kill me. Why should I accept this child unnecessarily? You can take him back. When Vasudeva was returning home with his firstborn child, although he was pleased by the behavior of Kamsa, he could not believe in him because he knew that Kamsa was uncontrolled. An atheistic person cannot be firm in his word of honor. One who cannot control the senses cannot be steady in his determination. The great politician Chanakya Pandit said, never put your trust in a diplomat or a woman. Those who are addicted to unrestricted sense gratification can never be truthful, nor can they be trusted with any faith.
Thank you, Kirtida. Shravanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. And that's pronounced on Shila Prabhupada.
Yeah. You can see
At
my
that
speech.
time, yes,
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Right.
At that time, the great sage Narada came to Kamsa. He was informed to Kamsa's becoming compassionate to Vasudeva and returning his firstborn child. Narada was very eager to accelerate the descent of Lord Krishna as soon as possible. He therefore informed Kamsa that in Vrindavan, personalities like Nanda Maharaj and all the other cowherd men and their wives, and on the other side, Vasudeva, his father Surasena, and all his relatives born in the family of Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, along with all their friends and well-wishers, were actually demigods. Narada warned Kamsa to be careful of them, since Kamsa and his friends and the advisors were all demons. Demons are always afraid of demigods. After being thus informed by Narada about the appearance of demigods in different families, Kamsa at once became very much alarmed. He understood that since the demigods had already appeared, Lord Vishnu must be coming soon. He at once arrested both his brother-in-law Vasudev and Devaki and put them behind prison bars. Within the prison, shackled in iron chains, Vasudev and Devaki gave birth to a male child year after year. And Kamsa, thinking each of the babies to be the incarnation of Vishnu, killed them one after another. He was particularly afraid of the eighth child. But after the visit of Narada, he came to the conclusion that any child might be Krishna. Therefore, it was better to kill all the babies who took birth from Devaki and Vasudeva. This action of Kamsa is not very difficult to understand. In the history of the world, there are many instances in the history of the world of persons in the royal order who have killed their father, brother, or whole family and friends for the satisfaction of their ambitions. There is nothing astonishing about this. For members of the demoniac, greedy royal order can kill anyone for their nefarious ambitions. Kamsa was made aware of his previous birth by the grace of Narada. He learned that in his previous birth, he had been a demon of the name Kalanemi, and that he had been killed by Vishnu. Having now taken his birth in the Bhoja family, he decided to become the deadly enemy of the Edu dynasty. Krishna was going to take birth in that family, and Kamsa was very much afraid that he would be killed by Krishna just as he had been killed in his last birth. He first of all imprisoned his father, Krisena, because he was the chief king among the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andaka dynasties. And he also occupied the kingdom of Shurasena, Vasudeva's father. He declared himself the king of all such places. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first chapter of Krishna, the advent of Lord Krishna. Thank you.
Haribol. Thank you, Mataji. Let's read the second chapter.
I will continue, Prabhuji. Second
Okay,
chapter.
please go ahead.
Prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. King Kamsa not only occupied the kingdom of Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhaka dynasty and the kingdom of Sursena, but he also made alliance with all the other demonic kings as follows. The demon Pralamba, demon Baka, demon Chanura, demon Trinavarta, demon Agasura, demon Mustika, demon Arista, demon Dvividha, demon Putna, demon Kesi, demon Dhenuka. At that time, Jarasandha was the king of Magad province, known at the present as Bihar state. Thus, by his diplomatic policy, Kamsa consolidated the most powerful kingdom of his time under the protection of Jarasandha. He made further alliance with such kings as Banasura and Bhaumasura until he was the strongest. Then he began to behave most inimical towards the Yadu dynasty into which Kamsa was to take his birth. Being harassed by Kamsa, the king of the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhaka dynasty took shelter in the different states, such as the states of the Kuruj, the states of Panchala, and the states of the Kakaya, Salva, Vidarbha, Nisada, Vedeha, and Kosala. Kamsa broke the solidarity of the Yadu kingdom as well as Bhoj and Andhaka. He made his position the most solid within the vast tract of land known at the time of the Bharatvarsha. When Kamsa was killed, when Kamsa was killing the 6 babies of Devaki and Vasudev, one after another, many friends and relatives of Kamsa approached him and requested him to discontinue these heinous activities, but all of them become worshipper of Kamsa. When Devaki became pregnant for the 7th time, a plenary expansion of Krishna, known as Anant, appeared within her womb. Devaki was overwhelmed with both jubilation and lamentation. She was joyful for she could understand the Lord Vishnu had taken shelter within her womb. But at the same time, she was sorry that as soon as her child would come out, Kamsa would kill him. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, being compassionate upon the Yadus who were fearful due to aros- uh, at- atrocities committed by Kamsa, ordered the appearance of Yogamaya, his eternal potency. Krishna is the Lord of the universe, but he is especially the Lord of the Yadu dynasty.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Pratipriya Mataji, you want to continue?
Yes, Prabhu. I
Yeah.
don't know how far she'll let me read, but I'll try, Prabhu. 1 minute. Yoga Maya is the principal potency of the personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is stated that the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has multi-potencies. Parasya Shaktir Vividhava Shruyate. All the different potencies are acting externally and internally, and Yoga Maya is the chief of all potencies. The Lord ordered the appearance of Yoga Maya in the land of Rajabhumi in Vrindavan. Just 1 minute, Prabhu, I lost the screen. In Vrindavan, which is always decorated and full of beautiful cows. In Vrindavan, Rohini, one of the wives of Vasudev, was residing at the house of King Nanda and Queen Yashoda. Not only Rohini, but many others in the Yadu dynasty were scattered all over the country due to their fear of the atrocities of Kamsa. Some, o- some of them were even living in the caves of the mountains. The Lord thus informed Yogamaya under the imprisonment of Kamsa are Devaki and Vasudev, and the present moment. My plenary expansion, Shesha, is within the womb of Devaki. You can arrange the transfer of Shesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. After this arrangement, 1 minute, Prabhu. After this arrangement, I am personally going to appear in the womb of Devaki with my full potencies. Then I shall appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudev, and you shall appear as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavan. Since you will appear as my since you will appear as my contemporary sister, and since you will quickly satisfy desires for sense gratification, people within the world will worship you with all kinds of valuable presentations, incense, candles, flowers, and offerings of sacrifice. People who are after materialistic perfection will worship you under the different forms of your expansions, which will be named Durga, Bhadrakali, Vijaya, Vaishnavi, Kumoda, Chandika, Krishna, Madhavi, Kanyaka, Maya, Narayani, Ishani, Sharada, and Ambika. That's it, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Mukund Prabhu, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Go ahead, come here.
Okay, Prabhuji. Krishna and Yogamaya appeared as brother and sister, the Supreme Powerful and the Supreme Power. Although there is no clear distinction between the powerful and the power, power is always subordinate to the powerful. Those who are materialistic are worshippers of the power, but those who are the transcendentalists are the worshippers of the powerful. Krishna is the supreme powerful, and Durga is the supreme power within the material world. Actually, people in the Vedic culture worship both the powerful and the power. There are many hundreds and thousands of temples of Vishnu and Devi, and sometimes are worshipped simultaneously. The worshipper of the power, Durga, or the external energy of Krishna, may achieve all kinds of material success very easily. But anyone who wants to be elevated transcendentally must engage in worshipping the powerful in Krishna consciousness. The Lord also declared to Yogamaya, my plenary expansion, Anantasesa, is within the womb of Devaki. On account of being forcibly attracted to the womb of Rohini, he will be known as Sankarshana and will be the source of all spiritual power or bala, by which one can attain the highest bliss of life, which is called Ramana. Therefore, the plenary portion, Ananta, will be known after his appearance either as Sankarshana or as Balarama. Shall I read more, Prabhuji?
Yeah, read one more stanza.
Okay. In the Upanishads, it is stated, Nayam Atmabala Hine Labhya. The purport is that one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. Bala does not mean physical strength. No one can attain spiritual perfection by physical strength. One must have the spiritual strength which is infused by Balaram or Sankarshana, Ananta or Shesha, is the source of the power which sustains all the planets in their different positions. Materially, this sustaining power is known as the law of gravitation, but actually it is a display of potency of Sankarshana. Balaram or Sankarshana is a source of spiritual power or the original spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is the incarnation of Balaram, is the original spiritual master, and the spiritual master is the representative of Balaram, the form of Supreme Personality of Godhead who supplies spiritual strength. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mukund Prabhu. Thus ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogamaya circumambulated the Lord and then appeared within this material world according to his order. When Yogamaya, the supreme power of the supremely powerful personality of Godhead, transferred Lord Shesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, both Devaki and Rohini were under Yogamaya's spell, which is called Yoga Nidra. When this was done, people thought that Devaki's seventh pregnancy had been a miscarriage. Thus, although Balarama appeared as the son of Devaki, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to appear as her son. After this arrangement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is always ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered within the mind of Vasudeva as the Lord of the whole creation with full inconceivable potencies. It is understood in this connection that Lord Krishna, first of all, situated himself in an unalloyed heart of Vasudeva and was then transferred to the heart of Devaki. He was not put into the womb of Devaki by seminal discharge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable potency, can appear in any way. It is not necessary for him to appear in the ordinary way, by seminal injection within the womb of a woman. When Vasudeva was sustaining the form of Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, he appeared just like the glowing sun, whose shining rays are always unbearable and scorching to the common man. The form of the Lord situated in a pure, unalloyed heart of Vasudeva is not different from the original form of Krishna. The appearance of the form of Krishna anywhere and specifically within the heart is called Dhamma. Dhamma refers not only to Krishna's form, but also his names, his qualities, and his paraphernalia. Everything becomes manifest simultaneously. Thus, the eternal form of Supreme Personality of Godhead with full potencies was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, exactly as setting sun rays are transferred to the full moon rising in the east. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus entered the body of Devaki from the body of Vasudeva, without being subject to any conditions of an ordinary living entity. Since Krishna was there, it is to be understood that all his plenary expansions, such as Narayana and incarnations like Lord Narsingha and Varaha, were with him, and they also were not subject to the condition of material existence. In this way, Devaki became the residence of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second and the cause of all creation. Devaki became the residence of absolute truth, but because she was confined within the house of Kamsa, she looked just like a suppressed fire or like misused education. When fire is kept in a jug, the illuminating rays of the fire cannot be very much appreciated. Similarly, misused knowledge, which does not benefit the people in general, is not very much appreciated. So Devaki was kept within the prison walls of Kamsa's place, and no one could see her transcendental beauty, which resulted from her conceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anybody else wants to continue? Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. Surat Prabhu.
Kamsa, however, saw the transcendental beauty of his sister Devaki, and he at once concluded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken shelter in her womb. She had never been before looked so wonderfully beautiful. He could distinctly understood that there was something wonderful within the womb of Devaki. In this way, Kamsa became perturbed because he was sure that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would kill him in the future, had now come. Kamsa began to think that what is to be done with Devaki. Surely she has Vishnu or Krishna within her. So it is certain that Krishna has come to execute the mission of the demigod. And even if I immediately kill Devaki, his mission cannot be frustrated. Kamsa knew very well that no one can frustrate the purpose of Vishnu. Any intelligent man can understand that the laws of God cannot be violated. His purpose will be served in spite
all impediments
offered by the demons. Kamsa thought, if I kill Devaki at the present moment, Krishna will enforce his supreme will more
vehemently.
To kill Devaki just now would be most abominable act. No one desires to kill his reputation. Even in an awkward situation, if I kill Devaki now, my reputation will be spoiled. Devaki is a woman and she is under my shelter. She is pregnant, and if I kill her immediately, my reputation, the results of my pious activities, and my duration of my life all be finished. He further deliberated. A person who is too cruel is good as dead. Even in this lifetime, no one likes a cruel person during his lifetime. And after his death, people curse him on account of his self-identification with the body. He must be degraded and pushed into the darkest region of hell. Kamsa thus meditated on all the pros and cons of killing Devaki at that time. Kamsa finally decided to kill Devaki. Not to kill Devaki right away, but wait for the inevitable future. But his mind became absorbed in animosity because against the personality of Godhead, he patiently waited for the delivery of the child, expecting to kill him in animosity, as he had done previously with the other babies of Devaki, thus being merged in the ocean of animosity against the personality of Godhead, he began to think of Krishna or Vishnu while sitting, while sleeping, while walking, while eating, while working, in all situations of his life. His mind became so absorbed with that the thought of Supreme Personality of Godhead that indirectly he could see only Krishna or Vishnu around him. Unfortunately, although his mind was so absorbed in the thought of Vishnu, he could not recognize as a devotee because he was thinking of Krishna as an enemy. The state of mind of a great devotee is also to be absorbed in Krishna, but the devotee thinks of him favorably, not unfavorably. To think of Krishna favorably in is Krishna consciousness, but to think of Krishna unfavorably is not Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhu.
At
Yeah, so let's actually, it's a long one, but let's take about 10 minutes to Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, because Tuesday is his appearance day. Let's quickly learn about him. It will take hardly 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so let me share. Okay, who wants to read?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Just read one stanza, Mother. We'll continue.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Biography of Srila Prabhupada. When His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada entered the port of New York City on September 17, 1965, few Americans took notice, but he was not merely another immigrant. He was on a mission to introduce the ancient teachings of Vedic India into mainstream America. For Srila Prabhupada passed away on November 14, 1977. At the age of 81, his mission proved successful. He had founded the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and saw it grow into a worldwide confederation of more than 100 temple, ashramas, and cultural centers. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else want to volunteer?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, Kirtina.
Srila Prabhupada was born Abhay Charan Day on September 1st, 1896, to a pious Hindu family in Calcutta. As a youth growing up in British-controlled India, Abhay became involved with Mahatma Gandhi's civil disobedience movement to secure independence for his nation. It was, however, a 1922 meeting with a prominent scholar and religious leader, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, which proved most influential on Abhay's future calling. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta was a leader in the Gaudiya Vaishnava denomination, a monotheistic tradition within the broad Hindu culture, and asked Abhay to bring the teachings of Lord Krishna to the English-speaking world. Abhay became a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta in 1933 and resolved to carry out his mentor's request. Abhay, later known by the honorific A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, spent the next 32 years preparing for his journey west.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I can do.
Yes, Vatsalamadi, please.
Okay, it is in 1965, is it?
Yes.
In 1965, at the age of 69, Srila Prabhupada traveled to New York City aboard a cargo ship. The journey was treacherous, and the elderly spiritual teacher suffered 2 heart attacks aboard ship. arriving in the United States and just $7 in Indian rupees, and his translations of a sacred Sanskrit text, Srila Prabhupada began to share the timeless wisdom of Krishna consciousness. His message of peace and goodwill resonated with many young people, some of whom came forward to become serious students of the Krishna tradition. With the help of these students, Srila Prabhupada rented a small storefront on New York's Lower East Side to use as a temple. On July 11, 1966, he officially registered his organization in the state of New York, formally founding the International Society for Krishna Consciousness.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare
In
Krishna.
the 11 years that followed, Srila Prabhupada circled the globe 14 times on lecture tours, bringing the teachings of Lord Krishna to thousands of people on all backgrounds and walks of life came forward to accept his message. And with their help, Srila Prabhupada established ISKCON centers and projects throughout the world. Under his inspiration, Krishna devotees established temples, rural communities, educational institutions, and started what would become the world's largest vegetarian food relief program. With the desire to nourish the roots of Krishna consciousness in its home, Srila Prabhupada returned to India several times, where he sparked a revival in the Vaishnava tradition. In India, he opened dozens of temples, including large centers in the holy towns of Vrindavan and Mayapur. Anybody else wants to read?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Srila Prabhupada's most significant contributions perhaps are his books. He authored over 70 volumes on the Krishna tradition, which are highly respected by the scholars for their authority, depth, fidelity to the tradition, and clarity. Several of his works are used as textbooks in numerous college courses. His writings have been translated into 76 languages. His most prominent works include Bhagavad Gita as it is, the 30-volume Srimad Bhagavatam, and the 17-volume Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Krishna Janmashtami ki Jai. So we got to learn so many things about Srila Prabhupada, I guess, today, right? The next time when there is a Kahoot or Jeopardy on Srila Prabhupada, you should win. Okay?
Yes, good idea.
Yeah. So thank you again. Today is a little bit different than what we usually do. But next week, our regular session will continue. Ajit Krishna Prabhu is available next week. And this Sunday, as you all know, at 8 p.m. is Adigadada Prabhu's session. Please attend. I'll send out the Zoom details. And Monday is Krishna Janmashtami and Tuesday is Srila Prabhupada Appearance Day. So please attend festivals at the temple. And if at all anybody is interested in doing any service, you can contact me. Any service at the temple, you can contact me or contact Saujanya Mataji or Vishnugata Prabhu. Okay. So
I think my Prabhu is going to put a message in Bensalam Bhakti group. Volunteers just for a little bit of sambar and aloo curry and chutney. But since you just mentioned, I'm just also telling in the group now, but he's going to put in the group and somebody who can be available in the dosa stall there in the temple in the evening also, even for half an hour or whatever they can, that would be helpful. As of now, we don't have any volunteers set as such. But maybe if anybody in this group are interested, that would be helpful.
okay.
Put the message in the.
I'll try. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Mataji.
Srimati. Thank you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you again. So let's again set this same mood for another 2-3 days until Janmashtami and until Srila Prabhupada's appearance day. Thank you very much. Take leave now. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavadandi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And also, please, if you get a chance, talk to Rajesh Govinda Prabhu or Mataji just to find out how he is doing. Okay, so he responded to my Srila Prabhupada's quote of the day. So that means he's doing better.
Where is he, Prabhu? In the hospital still?
No,
He
no,
was in the
they-
hospital. Now he must be home.
last evening
Can you
they
send his
came home.
number, please? Can you share the number with us?
Yeah, last evening they came home, I think, because Mataji did tell me that this evening we are going to be back home. I was just checking with her. So
Okay.
that's the thing. After coming, I didn't really check, like, because she had just said in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so I'm sharing his number. Rajesh Govind. So you can call him.
Oh, 267. Hold on, let it type. 267-815-5765, which is going.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Haribol. Thank you. Hare Krishna.